Hi, everybody. This is Lori, and this is our podcast, Inclusivity Podcast. And the focus of our podcast is justice and sustainable living and equity. And so we have guests on every week that talk about various aspects of creating a world for everybody. So, a world where everyone is treated well and where we can breathe and where the air is clean and the water is fresh. So, that's our focus. My partners, Leah and Dana, are not here today, but as always, they are here in spirit. And we also want to thank our other partners, Alliance for Sustainability, and which is a nonprofit organization also dedicated to creating a sustainable future, and Black Iowa News, which is Dana's online news source. So today we are so fortunate to be talking to my really good friend, Lori Ellis Young. And Lori is a breathing expert. That's what she does. She wrote a book on breath. She is a breathing expert. And the reason I'm having her on is that I feel like this has been such a stressful period with COVID and the racial unrest that we've had and conversations about inequity and Roe v. Wade being overturned and the threats to basically the rights of many people, women, LGBTQIA community, people who are not white. And so I wanted to have Lori on to sort of talk a little bit about what she does, give a little bit about her history, and then talk us through how breathing might help us in these most stressful periods. So Lori, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Lori, thank you so much for having me. This really is, as you described, such a challenging time that we are in, challenging in so many ways. And you add to what you just said, the environment, the war in Ukraine. Just so many things are happening that are unsettling and are keeping us up at night and are keeping us not just from sleeping, but sometimes even from digesting and breathing. We're holding our breath a lot. That's what I hear from a lot of people. I'm not breathing. I catch myself not breathing because to take in that breath and to take in everything that you just mentioned is overwhelming.
So Lori, tell us a little bit about your history because I know that I want you to tell us about your book, and I just want you to tell us how you got here to be this expert on breathing, which as you just said, we start holding our breath. We don't breathe well when we're under stress, and that makes the stress worse. So tell us how you got to understanding that.
Exactly. Well, Lori, I'm just so impassioned with breath and with sharing breath as often as I can with as many people as I can, because I feel that when we work with our breath, we work with peace. As breath helps us to find a safe place within, a sanctuary within, and with everything that you listed and talked about is what can we do when there is chaos and injustice and unrest and all of this outside of ourselves is we can come inside. And so I think even though I'm a yoga teacher and I started practicing yoga in the early 70s, and I really fell in love with breath when I started trekking in the high Himalayas and the Andes and found how breath and the oxygen that is our lifeblood carried by the breath, our fuel for everything that we do. I found that out in very high altitude, that it's about stamina, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual stamina that we get from our breath. So That led me to search out many different teachers worldwide and many different styles of breathing and Eastern pranayama, yogic science, and also Western respiratory science and MBSR, mindfulness based stress reduction. So, what I feel about breath is just very eclectic, but yet it comes down to one thing, my elevator speech. And that is that the quality of our breath directly impacts the quality of our lives. So I wrote a book, Breath is Life, with my husband, who's a psychologist. He did the neuroscience in it. And it has just recently been published in Spanish by a publisher in Spain. So that's, I guess, a short version of it.
I think that's wonderful, and I know, I know that, it matters, the breathing matters a lot, and I notice when I don't pay attention and I don't slow myself down and pay attention to my breathing, my stress level goes way up. And then
Mhm.
if I even take a minute to just breathe in the car before I go to work or before I face something that's tiring or stressful in any way, it matters tremendously. That minute of breathing can make a big difference. So, Lori, if someone sort of has been doing breath work a long time or is brand new to it, what exercise would you suggest? Because that's really what I wanted to get from today is something anyone who's listening can do, can
Okay.
practice in order
Actually, I
to
have
do
a
well.
couple things, or maybe even several things to share that we can do very, very quickly.
Wonderful.
One of the things, Lori, that I want to bring up is something that we do naturally with our breath to release stress. And that is, think about it. If you are irritated, if you are frustrated, if you are feeling stressed out for whatever reason, you will however it may be, but you will catch yourself sighing and you will also hear other people sighing. And that is an innate piece of wisdom in our body that helps us to let go and release. And so that's something I would suggest to people is if you catch yourself sighing, do it, really do it full on, sigh as long as you can, because that is a deep exhalation, a letting go exhalation, which means that your inhalation is going to be deeper, fuller, more oxygen to the brain, to the cells in your body. And also to even have a sign practice is when you first feel yourself just starting to become a little irritated, reading the news, watching the news, whatever it may be, let it go, let it go. It can be a soft, long sigh. I mean, you can play with sighs. There are so many different types of sighs. So there's that relaxing, releasing sigh that helps to keep us from having cortisol come running, through our system. And there's the sign of contentment, which if you can go from feeling that need to release to feeling like, okay, what is going right in my life and what is going right in the world? There are a lot of people that are galvanizing right now, that are coming together in ways that they have not come together before because of the things that you've talked about that are happening. So to go to that place of hope and to have a contented sigh, because what that does is releases endorphins and the feel good hormones that help us to, again, release stress, but also are anti aging. They help us to regenerate. So, that you can go into the neuroscience about it, but it's really just about the action of incorporating a simple sigh as often as you can into your daily life. Like you were saying, the minute that you might take to breathe. At the end of that minute, taking a deep breath, ah, as long as you can, and then taking another inhalation, savor it, and then go about your day, having reset. It's a reset to our systems. So that's one thing. Do
So
you want to
Lori,
say anything about that?
just wanted to say, can we practice that? Can we do it, that releasing side? Can you practice that?
Okay, okay.
That's a minute too.
So you might want to just take a couple moments to actually close your eyes, please, and feel the movement, the physical movement of your breath in your body, and just let yourself soften for a few breaths. Bring a gentle smile to your face. Just that tells our brain that we're safe. Our breath can change our brain, and just a gentle smile can change our brain, moving from sympathetic fight or flight dominance in the body to parasympathetic rest and digest, relax. So, you might want to bring to mind something that you really care about, an issue. It can be more than one, and just think about it for a few moments. And set the intention that you are going to release the stress that comes from it so that the hope and the connection with others that are doing something to right the wrong will be what is foremost in your being. So preparing to release that stress, that anger, frustration, hopelessness, despair, whatever it may be, taking in a breath, a little more if it's comfortable, holding it just a couple moments, and now let it go. Notice your next inhale, how deep it is. Savor it for a moment with gently, and now let go with a contented sigh. Ah. And whenever you feel ready, let your eyes open, come back, and see if you feel even a little bit different from doing that. What was that like for you, Lori?
I think again, I agree with you completely that it's just a little releasing. It just
Mhm,
feels, I feel a little better than I
mhm.
did when I was thinking about the negative things. And I think there's just power in that.
Yeah. It's a moment of simple breath awareness, which is the core foundation to mindfulness. And we know the benefits. It's been proven. So that is just what we did is extremely powerful, extremely beneficial, and the benefits will build on themselves if we integrate it more and more into our daily lives.
That's one thing I just want to stress to everybody who's listening is that I've had people say, nope, nope, breathing just doesn't work for me. And I think it's a practice. So
Absolutely.
just like if you're learning any skill, if you're learning to draw, if you're learning to write, if you're learning to ride a bike,
Mhm.
or learning a new exercise, whatever it is, it takes practice. And I think I find that the more I practice it, I use a lot of visualization, and the more I practice it, the more I can close my eyes and immediately go to that relaxing
Mhm.
state
Mhm.
now. But I couldn't when I started. And there
Mhm.
were lots of times when I started that it was like, oh, that was okay. And so
Uh-huh.
I think that idea of giving it time, and it takes so little of your day that you
Right.
really can practice sighing 10 times during your day because it will take half a minute. And over time, as you get better at it, it will feel better and better.
And you can do it anytime, anywhere. You can do such a soft, gentle sigh. Then nobody even has to know that you're doing it. If you're waiting on the telephone, if you're driving your car, or wherever you may be. I mean, it's so wonderful that the breath is always, at the end of our nose. I mean, it's
Right.
at our fingertips. We have it all the time. And with just adding a little bit of the neuroscience is that we know that when you continue this practice of just even the closing your eyes, putting a gentle smile, and knowing if you're inhaling, knowing if you're exhaling, how often do you really know? I mean, just that begins to create new neural pathways of calm, of being able to go into that parasympathetic that helps regenerate us and strengthen us and center us and balance us, helping aiding homeostasis, so that more and more as we practice it, they become not just neural pathways, but neural highways. So we can go there much faster, much quicker, and they'll have greater benefits.
Well, and I think that's something people forget, that our brains continue to create new pathways as we
Yes.
age. So it's
Yeah.
not something that we can't do. And
Right.
it is absolutely true that what we choose to focus on is how those neural
Mhm.
pathways get built. And
Yes.
so if we focus on calm and breath and
Mhm.
controlling those and benefiting from them and peace, those are the pathways that will develop and grow.
Yeah.
And that helps us with everything. It helps us
Y-
function as humans.
Something else, Lori, that comes up to share quickly is that you know that my husband and I lived in Ukraine for a little over 4 years. And when the war was just starting, and the invasion, pre invasion, and then invasion, and after the invasion, is one of the things that I said to my Ukrainian friends is Putin is invading your country. Do not let him invade your body. And it's like with all of the rights, the injustices that are happening, that might be happening outside of ourselves, you know, outside of ourselves, but it's happening within too. But do not let the outside powers, forces, whatever, disturb our health and well being. Do not let them take that away. That is something that we must preserve. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, it does, and we have to preserve it in order to fight against the injustices.
Right,
Because if I'm
exactly.
okay, if I can find peace and breathe
Mhm.
and take care of myself, then I have the strength and the energy to say, no, I
Yes.
won't actually allow that. I will
Yes.
fight for that. I will fight to
Yeah.
protect people's rights. It doesn't have to, I think it doesn't have to destroy me. It doesn't have
Mhm.
to eat me. It doesn't have to eat me alive. I can control myself and still do these really good things and do them much better if I also find joy and also remember that there are many good things.
Right. To come from this sense of self empowerment. And there's a breath that you can do that, thinking about how you want to change the world or whatever specific situation it is. Take a breath and hold it for as long as you feel comfortable. Just holding it, feeling powerful, and then exhale. Yes, as you bring your hands overhead in a victory position. Yes, yes, to empower yourselves instead of feeling the disempowerment, the disenfranchisement, the marginalization, the all of it.
So
Turn
just
it
breathe
around
in
with
and
our
hold.
breath.
Just breathe in as much as you can and hold. And then when you let it out,
And
put your
then
arms up. Okay.
yes!
Yeah.
I mean, there's a wonderful TED Talk by, um, the last name is Cuddy. Forget her first name, but she talks about, she's from Harvard,
Mhm.
and she talks about how our stance, our physical stance, is so important for empowerment. So,
Very,
and along with the breath, it really adds.
mhm. I like that. And that's something I would encourage, especially women, to be aware of our stance, and
Yeah.
that our stance often tends to be sort of inward and
Mm,
take up as little space as possible. And that part of that power is to be willing to take up more space,
yes.
to be willing to put your arms up or um, just put your chest out so that you're expanding
Mhm.
rather than contracting. And I
Yeah,
think that there is something powerful about changing the way we stand in the world and sit in the world. So I think it
absolutely.
goes along with breath and it goes along with power.
Yes, we're expanding our chest, our lungs, our hearts. And when we work with the breath, we work with our hearts. It's an anatomical given
Yeah.
that the lungs embrace the heart. And so we take heart, which we have to do right now,
Yeah.
is take heart. So,
So wonderful. So what else do you want to teach us today,
is there time?
Laura? There's time for one more thing.
Okay. I would say let's let's just focus on getting our breath as low and slow as possible. Those two words, and they're easy to remember because they rhyme, are going to help people to breathe better. How do you breathe optimally? Low and slow. Get it from shallow, breath holding in the upper chest, to as low in the belly as we can. We have like a battery in our belly. It's called dantian or hara. It's our center of stamina. And it's again physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. Breathing in the belly, expanding as we inhale, contracting as we exhale. And bringing the sigh with it. When we sigh, if we can do the belly breathing, focus more as you're first practicing it on the exhale. Do it with a sigh. Ah, as you feel your belly contract directly towards your spine. And then let the inhale be, first of all, a relaxed expansion. And then with your intention, let it expand out even more. Think of things that were done to women, especially with corsets, you know, tightening our bellies, cutting us off from a source of empowerment and power. Women had miscarriages and menstrual problems and fainted. And so to be able to really breathe with our belly and empower ourselves. So that's, I think, what I'd like to leave us with is also that when we breathe in the belly, we automatically move from sympathetic to parasympathetic. This is one way that we can immediately change our brains
I use
and
this.
become empowered.
I'm sorry, Lori. I use this all the time in my psychology practice, breathing into the belly. And I always tell people that it sends a message to your brain that you're not in danger. So if you're having anxiety or a panic attack, what you're doing is you're going to breathe in a very shallow way because your brain believes that there's a danger, there's an imminent danger that we have to deal with. And when you breathe into your belly, it kind of cuts off that message of imminent danger and lets your brain know that, in fact, there is no lion in the room, nothing terrible is going on, and you're safe. And so I think that breathing into your belly is very powerful and really does change. I love the way you said that. It changes from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic
Mhm.
parts of
Mhm.
your brain, the way you're thinking, and can change your entire outlook. on what's going on around you.
Exactly, exactly. Physiologically, we cannot be in a state of full-on panic if we are breathing in our belly. And what is one of the best ways to breathe in our belly?
I don't know.
Laughter. I mean, think of it, even just giggling.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that something really is funny. If we just can learn how to force or not or intend that we giggle, that we chuckle, that we chortle, whatever, laugh intentionally, we change our brain, and it all the systems in the body benefit from this. So, and laughter yoga, there's laughter clubs, there's funny videos that you can get on YouTube and just laugh. I mean, 300 300 sit-ups is equal to, I think it is 2 minutes of deep belly laughter. What would you rather do for your belly?
Wow.
I choose the laughter.
Yes, I choose the laughter. Oh, that's wonderful, Lori. So, Lori, thank you so much for being here. Where can people get your book?
They can get the book through the website breathlogic.org,
Okay.
through Itasca, ITASCA, which is a publishing company, and also Amazon, Barnes and Noble. So it's there, and the reviews are that it really is changing people's lives. So that just
That's
ah,
amazing. That's amazing.
is so heartening.
So, Lori, thank you so much for being here. For anybody who's listening or watching, this has been Inclusivity Podcast, and our goal is creating a sustainable future. And thank you so much for being here. If you like what you heard and you'd like to hear more, there are many more episodes already available. I believe this is the ninth episode of this group of podcasts. And we would love to have you like us and subscribe and follow us and share the link with your friends and family.
And Lori, thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for all that you do in the world.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.